Do you believe America is ready to elect its first woman president? If you believe so, I can tell you that there's at least one former First Lady who would disagree with you 100%. Hi, I'm David Tomsic, and you're watching the Tomsic Report. Well, that former First Lady is Michelle Obama, and she was out making the rounds promoting her new book, The Look. And of course, she was asked whether or not America is truly ready for a woman president. She said this, and I quote, "As we saw in the past election, sadly, we aren't ready," Obama said. "That's why I'm like, don't even look at me about running, because you are all lying. You are not ready for a woman. You are not." She went on to say, "We got a lot of growing up to do. There's still, sadly, a lot of men who do not feel like they can be led by a woman. And we saw it." Of course, what she's referring to is the election of 2024 and Kamala Harris losing to Donald Trump. I will say that I voted for Kamala Harris. I knew who Donald Trump was. And yes, I knew about Kamala Harris, and everybody tells me a different story. She was stupid. She didn't know this. She didn't know that. And of course, they all were upset with Joe Biden. Everything was Joe Biden and how he refused to leave office even though he was becoming mentally incompetent. I agree with all that. But I believe she would have made a pretty good president. I will put a caveat to that. She would have been better than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is tearing America apart. He is dividing America more than it's ever been divided. And as I've said in the past, he's dividing America even worse than it was divided during the Reconstruction period after the Civil War. This man is dangerous. There's no secret here. I talked about this in 2021. After the January 6th incident, I would never have believed people would have voted for him in 2024. This leads me to why I believe that the whole thing about women presidents is true, that people are not ready for them. I have no problem. I've worked in many, many places with women bosses. I worked in the defense industry, a subcontractor. I had 2 bosses that were women. They were very good, very bright, did a good job. I respected them. But I know people right now, and some young people that would not work for a woman, that think they're not capable. I think that's bullshit. You see, and for good reason. It's been tradition for thousands of years. Women were weaker. They were put on the back burner. And they were told to obey, to have babies. And you can't make these decisions because you're not able to. You can't go to the army because you're not strong enough. You can't shoot a rifle because you're not going to be accurate enough. You hear it all. And of course, I've found hundreds of exceptions to what these people say. And I'm sure there's thousands more. But it should tell you that what Michelle Obama is saying is true. And it's because inset in minds of Americans is that system that women should not be the president. It's okay to elect them to Congress. It's okay to elect them to the Senate. It's okay that they operate on you in a hospital. It's okay that they're there in an emergency room saving your life, but let's not make them president. So there's 3 things I'm going to talk about today, and let me go down these 3 things. It's important. By the way, if you want to know what's happening in America, happening in our world, this is the channel. And if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Let us grow. Help us grow. I believe it's important. Number 1, the political battlefield. The most visible evidence for Obama's claim is scattered across recent elections. She pointed to Kamala Harris's loss as fresh, painful evidence. Harris, a sitting vice president, faced a unique and intense brand of scrutiny that often zeroed in on that slippery quality of likability, a standard applied with far more rigor to a woman in power. This is true. I know this firsthand from working in major businesses across this country. I can tell you that. The data seems to back this up. As a woman became the face of the Democratic ticket in 2024, a specific demographic of male voters pulled away. According to Pew Research, Trump's support among men jumped significantly. This is the "we saw it" that Michelle Obama was talking about, a measurable trend that aligns with her assessment. Okay, so there's that grouping of men. And here's the problem. There are a lot of men, and I'm not even going to use the word woke. That's a ridiculous word. I use it and I talk about it because this is where a lot of minds are. And I want to be honest with you. People I have been talking to, and I'm saying good people, and I'm going to say very, very conservative right-wing people. They've heard it, and it proves my point and other commentators' points of how stupid so many people are. I'm sorry. I have to say it. I hope that's not you watching. But I've talked to these very conservative Christian men, and they use woke, and they have no clue. None whatsoever. And that bothers me. And so when we talk about a woman, when you hear them talk, it's like you're back in the Gilded Age. That psychology was burnt into these people from a young age. And then if they have a bad experience with a woman, whatever that is, it just adds to it. I know a young man. He said, I'll never deal with a woman, boss. They don't know what they're doing. He's a good kid, smart kid. Never worked anywhere outside of his home. He works at home from his computer. Again, these prejudices that he received, the prejudices he uses are based on his church. They're based on conservative politics, conservative right-wing leaning people. The woman should be at home. The man should be in charge. All these things are old school, not realistic today. And we go to the Bible. We talk about the Bible and how women reacted and were treated. We can't even use that as an example. That culture is foreign to us. The day that Jesus walked on earth, those days, we don't have anything like it today. Or when you go back to the book of Kings and all the Old Testament books that talk about history and talk about a lot of these things that happen, they have no resemblance to what's going on today. I'm sorry, they don't. We try to force feed our culture with this stuff and it's crazy talk. So Michelle Obama was right. You know, if you didn't like Kamala Harris, that's fine. You didn't vote for her. But I guarantee you she'd have been a better president than Donald Trump. Just look at what happened. My only concern with anybody that comes in is who's backing them. That's everybody's concern. You can be a good candidate and you got some crazy people like we do today in the Trump White House. We got a guy, Pete Hegseth, that pretty much has his military murdering people, helpless people in the middle of the ocean. After we blow up their ship, we want to kill the people that are trying to survive in the water. That's a war crime as far as I'm concerned. These are the people I worry about, the people behind the scenes. Could Kamala Harris have brought in the right people? That's the question. But even so, we'd at least have been stable. We at least would not have been taking on water. The status quo might not be what we liked, but it's safer than what we have now. And there's people say, "I'll never vote for Kamala Harris." Well, you got, then what you've done, and I disrespect that, what you've done is you've placed a tyrannical sociopath in our White House because you wanted some white, rich patriarch to run our country. I digress. On number 2 here, I'm going to talk about the psychological fear of electing a woman. Beyond the ballot box, what are the psychological roots of this fear? It's often not overt sexism, but implicit bias. Leadership has been historically and culturally coded as masculine. When a woman shows leader-like traits like strength and decisiveness, she risks being seen as aggressive or unlikable. This is the classic double bind. Act like a leader and you're penalized for not being feminine enough. Soften your approach and you're seen as not strong enough to lead. Right? This conflict shows up in polls and reveals a disconnect between what people say publicly and what they may feel privately. While majorities say they are ready for a female president, 1 in 5 voters admit they or someone they know would not vote for a woman. Okay, this again is about our culture. Now listen, I want to go on record here. Everybody says, well, you're a male. Yeah, I'm a male. Which is, see, I don't want to discriminate. All of us have biases. But I'm always open. And I always measure from what I can gain from what I can lose. And when I voted for Kamala Harris, I knew that I wouldn't lose as much as what I'm going to lose and what I am losing now under Donald Trump. I think we need to break that barrier. But again, the American male psyche is buried in the old school form of patriarchy, We can't get around it. We can't get around racism. As much as we think we've come so far, we can't. You may be saying, hey, I talk to a black guy all the time and we're friends. Maybe, but behind the scenes and in your mind, like it says here, there's some bias there. Would you let them come to your house for dinner? Would you trust them with your kids? Go down the list of things. And this is the problem with America that we have to break. We have to break this cycle. We've been inundated with messaging that the white male is supreme. And really, it isn't just the white male. It's the white rich male. I told this story before. I know a guy, very smart guy. He was a little bit of a scientist. And he talked to me how we need rich people. We need them. They provide you your job. And I'm thinking to myself, no, there's no rich person that provided me my job. I earned my job. I went to school, got 2 degrees, got a master's degree, and I worked hard. And the company I work with is owned by stockholders. We're not beholden to rich people. Just because they're rich doesn't mean anything. Jeff Bezos donated money to some charity. That's fine. How much of his wealth was that really, though? I mean, rich people do things, and they want you to believe that you can't live without them, that they need the tax breaks. They're arguing about the new mayor of New York City, how people are going to leave, businesses are going to leave because he's going to tax them. Guess what? Sometimes pain comes before freedom. Sometimes you need to pay the price to wean yourself off of these places. Go somewhere else, okay. But guess what? You have to pay your fair share. We don't want to do that. We believe that they shouldn't. And this gentleman that knew me, a friend of mine, truly believed that we needed these people, that they provided all the initiative for business. When rich people got their big, beautiful tax breaks in the first Trump administration, they didn't invest anything anywhere. Most companies bought their own stock back. They invested in themselves. They didn't share that wealth. They didn't invest that wealth. That's the statistical reality of it. And so when you're going to tell me that we have to rely on rich people, white rich people, I would say no. Pay your fair share and we'll get by. So when these rich people want to leave a city or a state because the taxes are going up, every state should have the same taxes on these people. No matter where you go, rich people, you're going to pay your fair share of the taxes. So number 3, I want to talk about the counter arguments. Now, many will say the losses of candidates like Harris have less to do with their gender and more to do about them as individuals. The argument is that voters aren't against a woman president, they were simply against that specific woman. But this perspective fails to ask why certain flaws seem to stick to female candidates more than male ones. A man's ambition is a prerequisite, shapes the very lens through which their qualifications and temperament are received. Okay, I can't disagree with that. And I believe that Michelle Obama's right. We have to grow up. See, we never really did. America has been, and I've said this before, spoiled. We've had everything we wanted. Most of us have. I, much less than people that make more than me. I know people that can go out and buy a brand new high-end car without blinking an eye. Myself, I drive a 2008 Jeep with a lot of miles and a lot of issues. But I can't afford to go out and say, hey, give me that Rubicon sitting there on the lot. I can't afford a $700, $800, or $900 payment. You see, we've divided our country to the rich and the poor. And when you talk about how Donald Trump has pretty much made that divide even greater, we need people from the other party, the Democratic Party, who do have an understanding. I thought Kamala Harris did understand. I thought that she wanted, no matter what you think, I believe from listening and reading about her, she did want to make America better for those that are poor, those that are in the middle class. Even though Joe Biden really wasn't doing the job that I think he should have. So if you believe that a video like this helps you out, gets you a better understanding of what's happening in our culture, what's happening in American politics and in our economy, please like, subscribe, and share our videos. Please join our cause. We're here trying to make sure that those who don't have voices now do, that we can speak for those who can't speak for themselves. In conclusion, I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2028. There's a lot of talk about Kamala Harris running again. Gavin Newsom. I'm not sure who will be the Democratic candidate, but we need somebody who will definitely work for the middle class. And I will not care if it's a woman or not. If she is qualified and she has the same underpinnings I have about social issues, about people, going back to the roots of the Democratic Party, I'm going to support her or him. Sadly, many women today are looked down upon by men when it comes to politics, when it comes to power, even in corporations. I know women who are getting paid thousands of dollars a year less, in some cases $15,000 a year or less than their male counterpart doing the same job at the same company. But once again, like Michelle Obama said, men are not willing to take orders from a woman. They don't want to. They refuse. They will fight it. They will do whatever it takes. We found how the Pew Research poll shows how men that would have voted Democrat voted Republican in 2024 because Kamala Harris was a woman, and maybe even because she was black. Whatever the case, shame on you. We need to break this. Again, many Americans are still stuck in the Gilded Age, where men were men and women ran scared. And it's time to break that. It's time for fairness and equity that this country stands for. That's all the time I have. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share our video. And don't forget, I have a sister channel called Loud and Clear. There we talk about faith, culture, and politics. It's a great channel. I'll leave a link in the description box to that channel. And remember to love your neighbor as yourself. I'll see you next time right here on the Tomsic Report.